You will not believe this story I'm going to narrate. It involves a creature unlike anything I've ever seen. This is not a fabrication. It occurred in a real military camp. The people I speak of, they existed, even though they never saw the creature. Circumstances conspired against them, rendering them oblivious to the chilling reality lurking in the shadows. Their lives continued, blissfully unaware of what prowled in the darkness. Believe me or not, the truth remains hidden in the veil of night, whispering its secrets to those who dare to listen. The monster in Mowbray camp. The story unfolds in 1991, just months before my departure from the army, marking the end of nearly 2.5 years of national service. As a military policeman, some of my Saturdays were spent patrolling the compound of Mowbray camp, nested along Ulu Pandan Road. This event that transpired during a Saturday night remained etched in my memory, casting a somber yet mysterious veil over my life. Yes, what I am about to tell you is so mysterious and true that you will not believe my story. Little did I know, those days would unveil a reality I could scarcely comprehend. First, let me provide some background information on what prowling means for our camp's security. The camp's prowlers patrol with this equipment. Each prowler carries a M16 rifle, 5.56mm NATO rounds, and a bayonet, ready for any situation. The leading prowler also holds a torchlight and a walkie-talkie for essential communication with the guard room. Their movements are monitored by the battalion orderly sergeant and the officer on duty, who listen closely to their transmissions. This organized operation is crucial in stopping intruders, such as a wild pack of dogs, from breaching the camp's perimeter. Mowbray Camp, established in 1937 at Ulu Pandan Road, housed British Guards and the Gurkha Dog Unit. It later became the SAF Provost Unit headquarters from 1971 to 2002, before relocating to Choa Chu Kang Way. The camp also accommodated the Home Team's K9 unit, including the Police Dog Unit since the 1950s. The camp is tiered over 3 levels. The guard room at the base, the parade square at the middle with views of nearby condominiums at their midsections, and the HQ at the summit. Patrols cover less than half due to abundant snakes and dangerous slopes, emphasizing safety over full perimeter surveillance. One Saturday afternoon, I was reluctantly called back to duty to replace a prowler because I was the reserved prowler. With a heavy sigh, I took over the ammunition, flashlight, walkie-talkie and bayonet from the guy who was going for his tennis competition on the next day. My partner was a guy who couldn't stop jabbering about some famous Chinese actress. We began our patrol up the main road of the camp, and while I was busy catching my breath, he kept rattling on about the actress, oblivious to the world. What a way to spend an evening with him. As we trudged up the sloping road, my partner rambled endlessly about the famous actress. He was energetic despite failing his individual physical proficiency test, while I struggled to catch my breath. Reaching the summit, we saw the commanding officer's car in his shed, a large tree looming behind. Just as I was about to snap and tell him to shut up, because he said at that moment, "Do you know how scandalous this actress was? She took a photo without wearing a bikini top." We heard a sharp crack, a tree branch snapping, a loud thump as if something heavy had hit the ground. Silence fell. At first, I thought the snapping sound was from a pack of feral dogs I had seen weeks ago. I mounted my bayonet on my M16 rifle and instructed my partner to do the same. But when I turned, he had vanished. How could he disappear so fast? I called and he answered, but he was nowhere to be seen. I called again and he said loudly he was at the canteen. I looked closely and saw his silhouette. Perfect camouflage. I asked him to investigate with me, but he was too timid. This closest would-be witness never saw what I was about to witness. I used my flashlight to check the chain link fence in a clockwise direction. I saw through the fence, starting from the left. The flats along Sunset Way came into view until they didn't. Where I should have seen private houses, a strange big white mass appeared. I re-examined from left to right. Indeed, there it was, a white mass that seemed like a pile of coiled up trunk, blocking the view of the semi-detached houses which were situated outside the camp. Bewilderment set in. What could this white mass be? Realizing what the white mass was, I felt a chill run down my spine. I grabbed my walkie-talkie. Corporal Sim to guard room, come in, over. Guard room to Corporal Sim, over. Corporal Sim, I think I saw a monster, over. Silence. My colleagues were probably too stunned to respond. Guard room to Corporal Sim, repeat, over. Corporal Sim, I think I saw a monster, I repeated, twice. I think it is a very big snake, over. The battalion orderly sergeant heard our communication and became intrigued. He commanded me to stay put until he arrived. It took him 15 minutes. I was left alone, facing the monstrous snake, just 5 meters away. Constrictors have bandings or spots to provide camouflage in their natural habitats, helping them blend in and avoid predators. Anacondas and giant pythons utilize these patterns to enhance their stealth, allowing them to ambush prey effectively in dense vegetation and water. However, this strange massive white snake looked like a coiled up trunk. Its left eye, as big as a 50-cent plastic football from my childhood, reflected the light back to me. This massive white creature had no banding or spots, unlike other giant snakes. Its trunk was about 3 arms thick. The absence of patterns made it even more unsettling. What was this creature? I looked at this giant snake and the surrounding area, realizing what had happened. To his right, a freshly snapped tree branch, strong and fresh, not weak and old. The snake must have been perching on the branch, and its size caused it to snap. This snake must be massive and very heavy. I had only turned my head for a moment to tell my partner, mount bayonet. The snake had slithered and coiled up next to the fence, moving upslope in a very short time. It must be fast and swift, too swiftly and deadly to deal with. My bayonet probably wouldn't hurt it much, and if I fired a shot, it might escape with a bullet and leave me without evidence. Worst of all, I might be killed and swallowed alive, with it leaving the camp with my corpse. Best strategy? I left it alone and it left me alone. We stared at each other for about 15 minutes while waiting for the sergeant to come. I called to my partner and told him it was a giant snake, but he didn't dare approach. No witnesses except for me. My decision was to leave it alone, so I called in Chinese first. I don't go over to hurt you, you don't come over to hurt me. Thinking it might be harmless to use English, I called in English next, the same message. Apparently the snake understood English. Nearing 15 minutes, I saw the sergeant walking up the slope. I called to my partner who was still afraid to come closer. Sergeant is coming. Upon hearing my call, the massive snake slithered beneath the fence, leaving the camp slowly, as if showing off its massive size and length. I watched in awe as its muscles moved like a snake's, but slower due to its incredible length and thickness. The snake had departed by the time the sergeant arrived. My partner, who finally showed up, claimed he hadn't seen the creature. No one on duty that day believed my story. A few days later, while on guardroom duty, I checked the logbook. The entry for that night simply read, "Prowlers saw a snake." Quite dismaying. 30 over years had gone by since I first and last saw this creature. How big would it have grown after so many years? Does it still like to perch on a tree branch to see how the world is changing?